All right, folks, today's update is a big one, and it's about Donald Trump's legal situation in New York. Now, for a while, it seemed like this was a done deal. Many of us figured Trump's sentencing was unlikely to happen anytime soon, especially after his victory in November. But as it turns out, there's a lot more going on behind the scenes. Let's dive into it and break it all down step by step, because there's a lot to unpack here. So here's where things stand. The District Attorney Alvin Bragg is drawing a hard line. He's making it clear to Judge Merchan that dismissing Trump's 34 guilty verdicts is absolutely not an option. Bragg's argument boils down to a few key points. First, Trump isn't currently the president. He's the president-elect, and there's no such thing as immunity for a president-elect. It's not a thing, folks. So Bragg is saying, let's keep this case moving forward. Before we get into the details, hit the subscribe button, like this video, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for your support. But it gets even more interesting. Bragg's proposal is that even if Trump is sworn in as president January 20th before he's sentenced, the case shouldn't be dropped. Instead, he wants it paused until Trump leaves office. Then it would be revived and Trump could be sentenced after his temporary presidential immunity expires. According to Bragg, this plan is not only lawful, but also practical and, most importantly, respectful of the jury's decision. Remember, we're talking about 34 guilty verdicts here, verdicts that found Trump committed felony crimes under New York law. These are serious crimes tied to his efforts to cheat in the 2016 presidential election. And since these crimes happened before Trump became president, he doesn't get to claim presidential immunity for them. Now, all of this rests in the hands of Judge Merchan, who will be the first to rule on Bragg's proposal. Bragg's team has laid everything out in an 82-page court filing, so there's a lot for the judge to consider. What happens next? We could see a decision from Judge Merchan in the next few days or weeks, and this is important, whatever decision he makes will almost certainly be appealed. This case is going to climb up the appeals ladder in New York, and there's a good chance Trump's team will try to take it all the way to the United States Supreme Court. And we all know Trump has a bit of a track record with the Supreme Court, where 6 conservative justices have ruled in his favor on several occasions. So this could turn into a legal battle that stretches on for a long time. Now let's talk about sentencing options, because this is where things get really interesting. Even if Judge Merchan rules against dismissing the case, what happens if Trump gets sentenced? According to Bragg, the judge has a range of options. One of the most lenient possibilities, probation, and we're not talking about standard probation with conditions. This could be probation with no strings attached, no check-ins with a probation officer, no fines, no required classes, nothing. Basically, it would just be a formal acknowledgement that Trump is now a convicted felon. Why does that matter? Well, technically, in the legal system, you're not considered fully convicted until sentencing happens. Sentencing finalizes the case. So even if the punishment is as light as probation, it cements Trump's status as a convicted felon, and that's a big deal. But let's be honest here. So probation doesn't feel like true accountability for 34 felony convictions. Bragg acknowledges this in his court filing, but he's leaving it up to the judge to decide. On the other hand, there's the possibility of a harsher sentence like prison time. But here's the thing. If that happens, it would only take place after Trump leaves office. Presidential immunity might pause things while he's in the White House, but once he's out, the case can pick right back up and he could face jail time then. Yeah. Let's address a question I know a lot of you are probably asking. Could Judge Merchan really just dismiss all 34 guilty verdicts? Is that even legal? Technically, yes. Judges do have discretion to dismiss cases in the interest of justice. But let's be real. What kind of justice would it serve to let Trump walk away from these convictions? These are serious crimes, folks. Letting them slide would send a terrible message about accountability. While it might not be strictly illegal for the judge to dismiss the case, it would be a huge abuse of discretion, and it's hard to imagine any reasonable argument for calling this justice. So what's next? As of now, both sides, Trump's lawyers and Bragg's team, have filed their arguments. We're waiting to see if Judge Merchan will schedule oral arguments or go straight to a ruling. With January 20th fast approaching, we're likely to get an update sooner rather than later. Okay, here's my question for you. Do you think Bragg's strategy will work? Will Trump face real accountability? Or are we in for another round of legal gymnastics that lets him off the hook? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and let's discuss. This is a story that's far from over, and I'll keep you updated every step of the way.